The dynamic between a man and a woman shifts dramatically when a casual connection transforms into a profound emotional bond. In the early stages of dating, a woman naturally operates with a high level of defense. She is analyzing your consistency, monitoring your reactions, and actively testing your potential to see if you are a safe investment for her heart. However, the exact moment she stops evaluating you is marked by a distinct change in what she shares. She transitions from assessing you as a candidate to actively choosing you as her partner. This is a massive psychological pivot. Most men completely miss this transition because they are waiting for a clear verbal declaration. They expect a woman to look them in the eye and explicitly say, "I am falling in love with you." But that is simply not how female psychology or behavioral patterns operate in the real world. Direct, blunt declarations of love carry an immense risk of immediate rejection and emotional exposure, which is why a woman will rarely lay her cards on the table so transparently. Instead, her mind relies on a much more sophisticated, nuanced language of devotion. She communicates her growing attachment through subtle, almost microscopic shifts in her daily behavior, her vulnerability, and the specific pieces of her life she allows you to see. These signals are entirely invisible to the untrained eye, leaving average men constantly guessing where they stand, misinterpreting her distance, or entirely overlooking her deepest displays of affection. If you do not know what to look for, you will inevitably misread her emotional investment, which can cause you to pull back just when she is trying to pull you closer. Understanding this hidden behavioral language is the ultimate shortcut to reading a woman's true intentions with absolute certainty. When a woman genuinely falls in love, her internal barriers begin to dissolve, and she starts granting you exclusive access to parts of her world that the rest of the public is entirely barred from seeing. She stops filtering her thoughts, she stops hiding her insecurities, and she begins sharing specific, highly guarded elements of her daily existence. This expansion of trust isn't accidental. It is a deliberate, subconscious invitation for you to step into the role of her primary emotional anchor. By learning to recognize these precise shifts, you completely eliminate the guesswork, giving you the clarity and confidence to match her energy and build an unbreakable connection. Without wasting another second on confusion or doubt, let us dive directly into the 5 specific things a woman only shares when she is genuinely, deeply, and completely in love with you. When a woman sends you an unsolicited, completely out of nowhere, "I miss you" text, the average man makes a critical mistake. He views it as just a casual piece of text conversation, a fleeting thought, or maybe a polite habit she throws around when she is bored. This careless misinterpretation is a massive oversight that will cost you deeply in the long run. To truly understand the weight of those 3 words, you have to look beneath the surface at basic human psychology. Women are naturally and instinctively wired to protect their emotional vulnerability. From a young age, they learn to build high defensive walls to guard their feelings and protect themselves from potential rejection, judgment, or abandonment. Admitting that she misses someone goes completely against those defenses. It is a massive risk for her because by typing out those words, she is forced to actively acknowledge that you have successfully bypassed her guard and carved out a permanent, undeniable space inside her mind. She is admitting to herself and directly to you that your absence creates a noticeable void in her day, signaling a deep psychological need for your specific presence. This is exactly why the timing of this message changes everything. When she sends this text completely out of the blue, especially in the middle of a chaotic, busy workday, or after hours of silence when you haven't even been actively talking, it is absolutely not casual banter. It is not an idle comment meant to pass the time. It is a genuine emotional confession. Think about the mechanics of that moment. In the middle of her busy life, surrounded by tasks, responsibilities, and other people, her brain completely filtered out the noise, paused everything, and focused entirely on the fact that you weren't there. She felt the heavy weight of your absence so intensely that she overcame her natural fear of being too vulnerable, picked up her phone, and reached out to bridge the gap. She is handing you a direct piece of her heart on a silver platter, exposing her true attachment to you without any guarantees of how you will react. If you want to capitalize on this moment and separate yourself from every other average man she has ever met, you cannot afford to drop the ball. The worst thing you can possibly do is reply with a lazy, low effort, robotic response like, miss you too, or a simple heart emoji. When you do that, you're actively shrinking away from her depth, dismissing her courage, and teaching her that it is unsafe to be vulnerable with you. Instead, your job is to step up and completely match her emotional investment. You need to anchor her feelings by responding with a powerful, open statement that invites her to go even deeper. Say something direct and grounding, like, tell me exactly what's on your mind right now. Or, I love hearing that. Tell me what made you think of me. By shifting the conversation to focus on her internal world, you instantly validate her vulnerability. You send a crystal clear, reassuring signal that her deepest emotions are entirely safe in your hands, which naturally compels her to fall even harder and open up even more. When a woman starts casually revealing her deeply personal favorite things to you, she is doing something infinitely deeper than just making idle, polite conversation. She isn't just killing time by talking about pop culture or food preferences. She is literally handing you the emotional blueprint and map to her innermost soul. Think about the specific nature of what she is revealing in these moments. She is sharing the exact song she plays on repeat in her car when she is crying and overwhelmed by life. She is telling you about the specific, unglamorous comfort food she craves when her anxiety is through the roof and she is too exhausted to face the world. She is introducing you to the obscure childhood movie she still watches under the covers just to feel safe and protected when things get tough. These are not random trivia facts about her life. These are her personal emotional anchors. They are the highly sensitive, intimate tools she uses to soothe herself when she is at her absolute lowest. And by bringing you into that loop, she is pulling back the curtain on her most private coping mechanisms. To truly understand why this matters so much, you have to realize that human beings naturally compartmentalize their lives to survive socially. Women are absolute masters of this out of pure necessity. They build an external, polished persona for the rest of the world to interact with. Her professional colleagues at work have no idea what she orders to eat when she has had an agonizingly rough week. Her casual, everyday friends have likely never heard the raw, emotional song she listens to when she is completely alone in the dark. The general public only gets the curated, surface level version of who she is. But because she is falling deeply in love with you, she has consciously and explicitly reclassified you into a completely different tier, above everyone else in her life. She has moved you from the outer circle of standard acquaintances straight into the inner sanctuary of her private world. She is giving you the keys to her emotional vault because her subconscious mind has already decided that you are a central, permanent fixture in her life who deserves to see her in her truest form. The absolute best way to handle this information is to treat it like pure gold, because to her, it is. The average guy will listen to these details, nod his head, and completely forget them 5 minutes later because he thinks it's just meaningless small talk. Do not be that guy. Your strategy must be to lock these details into your memory and reference them intentionally down the road when she least expects it. If she casually mentions that a specific song brings her immense comfort, don't just say, cool. Go find that song on your own time, listen to it, and bring it up 3 days later out of the absolute blue. Text her and say, I actually went back and listened to that song you mentioned the other day, and I totally get why it means so much to you. This incredibly small, deliberate act does something massive inside her psychology. It serves as undeniable, concrete proof that she is genuinely heard, deeply seen, and profoundly valued by the man she is choosing. It shows her that you don't just listen to the sound of her voice, but that you actually care about the weight of her words. When a woman realizes that you are paying attention to the tiny, hidden details of her inner life, her defenses melt away completely. This level of emotional attunement is the exact foundation a woman needs to feel safe enough to fall completely, hopelessly, and permanently in love with you. Jealousy is one of the most widely misunderstood emotions in modern dating, often labeled as toxic or dramatic. But when a woman is genuinely falling deep in love with you, her jealous side is actually a direct reflection of her investment. It is not about control. It is about her raw fear of losing the emotional territory she has worked so hard to build with you. Most men expect jealousy to look like a loud, explosive confrontation or a dramatic argument, but that is rarely how it begins. Instead, a woman's fear of losing you will manifest in subtle, sudden behavioral shifts that you can only catch if you are paying close attention. She might suddenly go completely quiet and distant the exact moment you mention a new female colleague at work. She might acutely notice when a specific woman likes your photo or leaves a comment on your social media feed. She isn't going to start an interrogation or make a massive scene right then and there, but you will instantly feel a distinct, heavy shift in her energy. The warmth leaves the room, her responses become shorter, and a noticeable emotional wall goes up in an instant. This sudden shift in her energy is driven entirely by a deep seated vulnerability. By falling for you, she has allowed herself to depend on your presence, and the mere thought of another woman threatening that connection triggers an instinctive defense mechanism. She feels an underlying anxiety that the exclusive space she occupies in your life might be compromised. Now, this exact moment is a massive fork in the road for your relationship, and how you handle it will either lock in her devotion or permanently break her trust. The absolute worst, most destructive thing an average man can do in this scenario is exploit her insecurity to feed his own ego. Average men love to tease a woman when she gets jealous, or worse, they intentionally flirt with other women to make her chase harder, thinking it gives them power. This is a childish, short sighted game that will backfire completely. If you mock her or make her feel crazy for caring, you don't make her want you more. You simply teach her that you are unsafe, unpredictable, and untrustworthy, which will force her to pull her heart back to protect herself. Instead of playing games or getting defensive, your strategy must be to step up as a high value man and completely neutralize her anxiety by making her feel entirely chosen. You don't need to get into a massive debate, argue about logic, or frantically try to prove your innocence. You just need to ground her emotionally. Look her directly in the eyes, cut through the tension, and reassure her clearly, calmly, and directly that she is the only woman you want. Say something solid and undeniable, like, I notice you got a bit quiet when I brought up my coworker. You don't ever have to worry about other women. You are the only one I'm focused on. This direct reassurance instantly disarms her defense mechanisms because it removes the threat. It shows her that you are self aware enough to read her energy and strong enough to protect her peace of mind. When a woman feels completely secure, thoroughly prioritized, and unequivocally chosen by the man she loves, she doesn't become toxic or possessive. Instead, that underlying anxiety transforms into an unshakable sense of peace, and she becomes fiercely, unapologetically loyal to you for the long haul. When a woman consciously chooses to trust you with an embarrassing story from her past, a quiet fear she carries deep inside, or a massive life dream she has never said out loud to anyone else, a monumental psychological shift has occurred beneath the surface of your relationship. She is no longer just sharing information or keeping up casual appearances. She is unlocking the absolute deepest vault of her inner world. In behavioral psychology, this profound moment is deeply tied to the concept of vulnerability reciprocity, which is the ultimate currency of human connection. By deliberately exposing her flaws, her past mistakes, and her secret ambitions, she is making a conscious decision to strip away her defensive armor in front of you. You must understand the gravity of what is happening in this exact moment. She is intentionally handing you emotional leverage over her entire psychological well being. She is giving you the exact weapons that could easily be used to hurt, judge, or humiliate her. And she is operating on the pure, unadulterated trust that you will never use that power against her. Earning this elite level of emotional access is not something that happens overnight, nor is it something you can simply charm your way into. It typically requires months, sometimes even years, of watching your consistent, reliable behavior through a microscope. She has been quietly observing how you treat other people, how you handle stress, and whether you are capable of holding confidential information without gossiping or judging. When she finally decides that you have passed the test, and she officially opens this vault to let you see her raw reality, your entire objective shifts. Your only job in that moment is to protect that space with absolute reverence. This is where the vast majority of men completely drop the ball and ruin everything. The average man hears a woman talk about a deep fear or a past struggle, and his immediate robotic instinct is to jump into logic mode. He tries to offer unsolicited advice, give her a step by step checklist to solve her problems. Or worse, he minimizes her experience by telling her it's not that big of a deal in a misguided attempt to make her feel better. When you try to fix her problems or dismiss her feelings, you are inadvertently sending a message that her depth is too uncomfortable, too messy, or too problematic for you to handle. It forces her to instantly slam the vault door shut and regret ever opening up to you. Instead of trying to be a mechanic for her emotions, your strategy must be to simply sit with her in that heavy depth and remain completely present as a solid, unshakable anchor. Do not interrupt her, do not judge her, and do not try to change the subject because the vulnerability makes you uneasy. Once she finishes sharing her secret, look her directly in the eyes, acknowledge the immense courage it took for her to speak, and say something profoundly simple like, "Thank you for trusting me with that. I am really glad you told me." This direct, non judgmental acceptance does something incredible to a woman's psychology. The exact moment she realizes that you can handle the full, heavy weight of her rawest, most unpolished thoughts without flinching, without changing how you see her, and without running away, her emotional attachment to you deepens permanently. She realizes that she no longer has to perform or wear a mask around you. You become her ultimate safe haven in a chaotic world, locking in a profound level of intimacy and devotion that ensures she will never want to let you go. The single most rare, highly guarded asset a woman will ever share with you is an unfiltered, completely unedited glimpse into her raw, private reality. In a world completely dominated by curated social media feeds, flawless camera angles, precise lighting, and digital filters designed to hide every single imperfection, a woman's public appearance is heavily protected. She spends immense time, effort, and energy ensuring the rest of the world only sees her looking polished, put together, and pristine. Therefore, when she takes a photo of herself laying flat in bed with absolutely no makeup on, her hair completely messy and unstyled, or just lounging around her house in her oversized, comfortable clothes, and she sends it directly to your phone, you are holding undeniable psychological evidence of absolute emotional security. This act is not driven by vanity, a desire for attention, or a simple need for validation. It is raw trust at its most unguarded. By sending that image, she is deliberately turning off the curated persona and allowing you to see her exactly as she is in her most private moments. You have to realize the profound weight of what is happening behind the screen when that notification pops up. She is showing you the exact version of herself that the rest of the world is completely barred from seeing. Her casual friends, her professional colleagues, and the hundreds of strangers scrolling through her public social media profiles will never be granted access to this side of her. To the rest of the world, she demands perfection. But with you, she feels safe enough to be entirely flawed, natural, and real. She is testing the waters of your acceptance, putting her raw, authentic physical self out there without any of the security blankets that cosmetics or filters usually provide. This is a massive fork in the road for her emotional attachment. If you react like an average man and respond with a generic, automatic, low effort compliment, like you look good or nice pic, you completely waste a monumental opportunity to solidify your place in her heart. A generic response signals to her that you view this rare glimpse as just another standard photo, which subtly disappoints her and makes her feel like she exposed herself for nothing. To handle this moment like a high value man, your strategy must be to lean entirely into the unique intimacy of the photo and validate the specific trust she just extended to you. You need to bypass the generic praise and speak directly to the raw authenticity of the image. Look at the photo, appreciate the immense vulnerability it represents, and tell her with absolute certainty, I love it when you send me these types of photos. This is my absolute favorite version of you. Alternatively, you can say, you look incredibly beautiful just laying there like that. I prefer this over any dressed up version. A highly specific, direct response like this permanently rewires her emotional connection to you on a subconscious level. It bypasses her logical mind and strikes directly at her deepest emotional core. By praising her in her most natural, unguarded state, you are giving her permission to stop performing. You are telling her that her rawest self is not only acceptable, but deeply desired and cherished by the man she is choosing. She will remember exactly how safe, secure, and beautiful you made her feel in that exact moment for years to come. This deliberate validation dissolves any remaining hesitation she has, creating an elite, unbreakable bond of intimacy that ensures she will remain completely devoted to you, knowing she has found a man who truly appreciates her unfiltered reality.